So Stray finally released yesterday, and it's really good. I initially wasn't going to talk about it at launch since I was saving all my cash for Spider-Man Remastered and Saints Row, but in a surprising move, PlayStation actually took a page out of Game Pass's book and offered Stray for free as a part of the PlayStation Plus subscription. It's a bit out of left field, especially when considering the comments that many people at PlayStation have made regarding Xbox's business model, but at the end of the day, it gets the game out there to a wider audience since, despite being promoted by Sony multiple times, not a lot of people have been talking about it, at least from what I've seen. If you're one of those people who have no clue about what this game is, you play as a nameless cat who gets lost from their pack and ends up in this cyberpunk city where humanity is completely gone and all that's left are robots, monsters, and cops. You meet this tiny robot named B12, and together, the two of you do your best to find the four guardians who will help you escape the city. I can only think of Sonic in times like these. Let me just say that the developer, B12 Studio, swung it right out of the park, especially for their first game. I was happily surprised by some of the writing and world building that this story had. It even tried to explore some classic cyberpunk themes like transhumanism, love in a loveless world, artificial intelligence, evil corporations causing the end of humanity as we know it, so, you know, real life. Every single environment looks absolutely amazing, despite the game being cross-gen. They even made the sewer level look good, which sounds like a sin because sewer levels are never supposed to look good. That's their whole shtick. I played on PS4, I didn't have very many issues whatsoever, save for one crash and some slight frame stutters towards the very end of the game. So despite those minute issues and some longer than expected load times, for a PS5 PC title, it still looks really good on a 9-year-old console. I also need to mention the soundtrack because
so good and tasty.
That ethereal ambience mixed with some straight heart-pumping, stress-inducing tracks makes for one delicious OST. This is a case where a 2+ hour album is completely appropriate. I want the vinyl so fucking bad. Despite how it may seem on the first glance, the game itself isn't just a walking simulator. There's puzzles, platforming, combat, running, there's even some forced stealth in there, which I surprisingly didn't hate. Nothing felt cheap. Whenever I was caught, it felt like it was completely my fault, and nothing overstays its welcome. And that doesn't just apply to the stealth sections, but the game as a whole, including the many sections where you're running from the Zurks, which are these cute, murderous little fucking creatures. The parts of the game where you have to avoid them aren't difficult at all, which would initially lead you to think that these parts of the game are just entirely boring. But the music and constant feeling of being outnumbered really keeps you immersed in this world. It also makes the calming nature of the rest of the game feel completely warranted. Usually games like Ghostwire Tokyo, Shredder's Revenge are easy to recommend since the game speaks for itself, while Stray is definitely the kind of game that you just have to play in order to know whether or not you'll like it. And by the time you'll figure it out, the game will almost be over since Stray only clocks in at about 4 to 5 hours. Because it doesn't linger in one spot for too long, the entire game feels very well paced, making that runtime feel a little bit shorter. I wasn't really bothered by it at all. I didn't feel like there was a stone left unturned in the narrative. Now, honestly, I feel like I've well established on this channel that a $30 5-hour game to me is far better than artificially inflating it to $60 8 hours. I'm very glad that PlayStation took a chance on a AA game from a new developer with an idea that isn't quite mainstream and not only heavily advertised it, but put it on their new subscription service for even more people to play. If running around and solving puzzles as a cat in a cyberpunk world while listening to an fucking A1 steak sauce soundtrack is your thing, then you'll probably love Stray. Even if it doesn't sound good to you, I highly suggest playing it with the free trial of PlayStation Plus. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I'll catch you guys next time. Later, kids. Have a good night.